Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at BT10, and BT10 offers us lots of new and powerful tools to build and iterate on some new and existing decks. And today's deck I'm going to be taking a look at is going to be a brand new iteration on Security Control. So Security Control is still just a very powerful deck because the core concept of recover and removal is just really powerful, especially since we have a whole bunch of different color combinations that we could tech our removal in to be able to handle a wide variety of different situations based on the types of colors that you're going to be playing with. So I'm going to be sticking to a more classic yellow-purple variant, but I will be talking about the other colors later in the video when I'm talking about all of the other tech options that you can include. Going over the deck, starting with the Digitama, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Viximon. So Viximon is going to be the Digitama draw engine, so it's a good card because it's already interacting with our options, where its inheritable ability states that during your turn once per turn, when you use an option card that costs 2 or more, then we get to draw 1 card. So it's just one of the easier ways for us to draw a card without committing to being attacking into the opponent's security. So we could just have our rookie sit on our field, try to gain some value off of Viximon, and then swing with our rookie when we need to. And then the rookie of choice that I'm going to be using is going to be 4 copies of Salamon. So this is the BT2 Salamon, and this is pretty good because it has a nice on-delete ability that lets us try to recover, where if we have 3 or fewer cards in our security, then we get to recover 1. So this allows us to easily raise a Salamon, move it out, sit on that Salamon, get some good value off of Viximon with the use of our options, and then swing with Salamon when we need to. So I'm not running any level 4s, but instead I'm skipping straight up to some level 5s, and I'm going to be running 4 copies of Magna Angemon. So Magna Angemon is going to be one of the key recovery tools for the deck, just because he has the on-play ability of Recover 1. So we're always going to be hard casting this card from our hand or our trash, depending on the situation and setup, and being able to recover 1 off of him is just super powerful while sitting on a level 5 body to then digivolve into our level 6s. And he's a pretty good card at digivolving into our level 6s because he has a nice inheritable ability where during your turn, this Digimon gets plus 1000 DP for every 3 cards in our security that we have. So the more security we have, the more powerful our level 6 is going to be. And for that very same style of reasoning, I'm also going to be running 3 copies of Angemon. So this is the Mastimon starter deck version of Angemon, and even though she's not recovering us, she is applying a security attack debuff onto the opponent. So her on-play ability states that one of your opponent's Digimon gets security attack -2 until the end of the opponent's next turn, which actually combos with the new level 6 that we're going to be running in the deck, Venusmon, to be able to have the ability to reapply this debuff. Then she has a nice inheritable ability of her own to synergize with our Ophanimon Fall Down mode, where during your turn, while you have a purple Digimon in play, then this Digimon gains security attack +1, so we could actually try to deal a little bit more damage than what the opponent might be anticipating when we're aggressing with our level 6s. And speaking of our level 6s, next I'm going to be running 2 copies of Ophanimon Fall Down mode. So Ophanimon Fall Down mode is an absolutely fantastic card for this deck to run still. Her on-delete ability is only going to be targeting the Salamon as a yellow or purple level 4 or lower Digimon to bring back from our trash when she does get deleted. And then what we're really trying to use her for is just another generic recovery tool, where when we digivolve up into her, if she has a purple Digimon in her Digivolution source, which I'm not running any, you could tech the deck too, we would delete one of the opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon, but if we have a Digimon with yellow in its Digivolution sources, then we get to recover 1, which is what we are doing to try to keep our security as healthy as we possibly can. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Avenge Kidmon. So Avenge Kidmon is going to be the reset button to try to help refresh our deck and get a nicely sized body on the field that also has some good removal attached to him. So he reduces his play cost for every option in our trash and the opponent's. Well, we're an option-based deck, and we're already just playing a whole bunch of options ourselves, so even if the opponent doesn't have any, we could still reduce them a decent amount just from ours alone. Then his on-play ability states that we get to return all cards with 3 Musketeers and their traits and all option cards from both players' trash to the bottom of their decks. And if 7 or more cards was returned this way, then we get to delete a Digimon with 3 Musketeers in its traits or 8,000 DP or less, acting as another good card to just hard slam, refresh our deck, and possibly delete a mid to low level body, all in one card. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Venusmon. So Venusmon is the brand new inclusion level 6 of the deck, and she's a really good card at trying to disrupt the opponent and stop a lot of their potential power plays. So she has this nice when Digivolving ability where all of the opponent's Digimon gain security attack -1 until the end of the opponent's next turn. So this is just a fog effect, so it will affect any Digimon coming out of Raising, any Digimon Digivolving on top of Tamers, or being hard played from the hand or trash. It doesn't matter where the Digimon are coming from, all of them will just gain this debuff to try to stop some of the opponent's actions and limit the amount of damage that they can do. And then on top of that, her secondary ability combos into this ability, where during the opponent's turn, your opponent's Digimon with any form of security attack, whether it's an increase or a decrease, can't attack this Digimon, and it's when Digivolving and when attacking abilities do not activate. So she's just trying to shut down the opponent's ability to basically do much of anything to be able to combat this card. And thanks to the Angelomon from the Mastamon starter deck, we have a good way to be able to reapply this debuff, so that way we could try to make her secondary ability as disruptive as we could possibly make it. And then the last Digimon of the deck is going to be our only level 7, and that's going to be 3 copies of Death Exmon. So Death Exmon is just a very powerful control tool where he's just easy to play. As long as the opponent has lots of Digimon and Tamers in play, then he'll just reduce his play cost by 3 for each of them with a nice on-play / when Digivolving ability, so we have utility on how we could trigger this effect of Digivolve 1 on all of the opponent's Digimon, and then delete all of the opponent's Digimon that's level 4 or lower. So if they're just sitting on a wide field of Digimon, then Death Exmon will come in and basically try to clean all of that up. And then on top of that, he's got some good built-in recursive removal, where at the end of the opponent's turn, once per turn, we get to delete all of the opponent's Digimon with the lowest play cost. So not only is he just trying to delete a wide field of Digimon, but he also is trying to help recursively delete anything that the opponent would be using. Next, on to the options, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Flame Hellscythe. So Flame Hellscythe is still just that good of a card, because usually we're going to be trying to go 3 for 1 in terms of value because of how this card is used and the types of cards that we're going to be bringing back. So it has the nice ability where one of the opponent's Digimon gets -6,000 DP for the turn, which is pretty decent, and then we get to play 1 purple or yellow Digimon card with 6,000 DP from our trash for free. So we're going to be targeting our level 5s, ideally off of Flame Hellscythe, to be able to reapply that security attack minus debuff, or to be able to recover. Next, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Blade of the True. So Blade of the True is going to be the draw engine option for us to use, just because its main ability states that we get to draw a card for every 2 cards in our security that we have. Well, if we're trying to maintain a healthy security size, usually we're going to be drawing 2 to 3 cards off of this, which is pretty decent, especially in combination with Viximon, because it is an option that costs 2 or more, with the security ability of activating its main, so it's just another good card for us to use in general. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Holy Wave. So Holy Wave is just the annoying recovery tool in option form for us to use, just because its main ability states that we just get to generically recover 1. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Lonke Ariscato. So Lonke Ariscato is a pretty powerful removal option for this deck to include, just because of the different modes of removal this card has. So it has the main ability where if we have 3 or more cards in our security, then one of the opponent's Digimon gets -12,000 DP for the turn, which is pretty decent. It's not as strong as Wyvern's Breath, but it's big enough to basically deal with the majority of level 6s that this card is going to be targeting. And then it has a nice secondary part to its ability, where if we have 3 or fewer cards in our security, then we get to place one of the opponent's Digimon face down at the top of their security, acting very similar to Chaos Degradation, to have alternative forms of removal in case the opponent opponent has some built-in protection for DP reduction. And then the crazy thing about this card is if we have exactly 3 cards in our security, then we get both effects. So it's just a nice, very powerful option card to be able to do lots of different things and remove Digimon in various different ways. Next, I'm going to be running 1 copy of Reinforced Memory Boost because this card is just that good at trying to help rig our security. Its main ability states that we get to reveal the top 2 cards of our deck, place one of them face down at the top of our security, and then the other goes into our hand, with this card going into the battle area to use for its delay ability to gain us 3 memory at a later turn, not only helping us rig our security, but helping us gain some extra memory and tempo later on when we need it. And then the last option of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Chaos Degradation. So Chaos Degradation is the original card that's trying to be that alternate form of removal that's going to be very hard for the opponent to defend against. So it has the nice main ability where we get to place one of the opponent's Digimon to the top or bottom of their security stack face down, and if we do, then we get to trash the top card of the opponent's security stack. So ideally, you're going to be shoving whatever threat that is, well, threatening you to the bottom and then burn the top, unless you really feel like you want to burn the top, which is the card you just put there. But regardless, it's just a very powerful card at getting rid of bodies, with the security ability basically activating its main without the burn factor attached to it. And then as far as our Tamer lineup goes, I'm going to be running a very simple Tamer lineup where it's going to be 4 copies of Mimi to try to help make our options as playable as we possibly can, or when we're not using her with our options, we could at least try to disrupt the opponent from the use of their options. So she has the All-Turns ability where when a player would use an option card, we get to suspend this Tamer to gain 1 memory. So for being a 2-costed purple Tamer, she's just super efficient to use, helping the deck flow and function. Next, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Kari. So this is the BT4 version of Kari, and she's just in here for some more disruption, trying to stop it and limit some of the opponent's actions when they're trying to aggress into our security. So she has the All-Turns ability where when a card would be removed from your security stack, ideally from when the opponent is attacking into you, then you get to suspend this Tamer to gain 1 memory. So it's basically trying to tax their attack, and that could be pretty devastating, putting them off their game plan. And then the last Tamer of the deck is going to be 3 copies of Kari Kamiya. So this is the BT8 version of Kari, and she's going to be acting as the deck's dedicated memory fixing Tamer. So if we're ever less than 3 memory, she'll just always hard set us to 3, so we at least have something decent in terms of memory count wise to start with at the start of our turn. And then on top of that, her secondary ability is just helping us with our overall tempo, just because when a card is added to our security stack, which we have a bunch of different cards to add cards to our security, then we get to suspend this Tamer to gain 1 memory. So she's just helping, again, make some of our cards more efficient to use. And then there's just so much customization and flexibility that could go on in this deck that it's actually kind of astonishing all of the different approaches that we have access to. So if you wanted to splash a little bit of green, we do have TK and Izzy to act as a good way to not only help us gain some extra memory for having high-level Digimon in play, and the whole idea on why we would want to use and gain access to green is so that way we could use one of their options in the form of Grandest Soul to bottom deck the opponent's Digimon, which is another different alternative form of removal for us to think about utilizing that's still pretty powerful. Then if you wanted to, we could even dip and splash into black and gain access to some black cards. So Izzy and Joe is going to be one of the most powerful and generic tamers to help facilitate that. And one of the cards that we would want access to when it comes to black removal is going to be Ultimate Flare. But we could think about utilizing some black-purple removal, and we even have various other black removal options as well that we could gain access to. But the usage on black is mainly going to be for de-Digivolve, again, to be as disruptive and have alternative forms of removal for the opponent's Digimon that they can't deal with. Then we do have red that we could splash into, so if you wanted to run a red package and run red eggs, then Gigimon-Guilmon combo is still pretty decent at being very aggressive early on while drawing us a decent amount of cards. And speaking of card draw and various different removal options, we do have Fireball, Crimson Blaze, Gaia Force. There's just a lot of different red removal tech that we could think about incorporating for splashing red. And Lee is recovering us just because the option will go into our security after she uses it for free and run some various other packages, then by all means feel free to do so. I know -1 debuff won't apply because we're not running the full Reaper suite. Still, the fact that it's just a security Digimon that helps us recover is very, very powerful. Or if you just have access to Sister Mont Blanc, just because the generic discard 1, draw 2 is very, very good. Then we do have some other level 6s that we could run, so you could run Junimon to try to recycle through some of your Digimon that you want to try to reuse it. And we even have some varied different level 7s that you could think about running. So this will be a good card to grab back our Death X's, and this will be a good card to grab back our Junimon. For the most part, this is just my interpretation on what a security control deck can look like. And necessarily one option is better than the other. It's just what you feel like you need to be able to counteract what the current meta is. And that's what makes it a very strong deck, is just that needed to fit. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts. So thank you everyone for watching, and as always, don't forget to like,